For the garden record. Stupid cars. June 14th, 2025. The tour. This is our lily and hosta patch. The hosta's kind of got in there somehow. Just all transplanted from last year. From the side of the garage. Alright. I just spent a few hours cutting the lawn, weed eating everything. So now's a good time to do a tour. This flower bed, the irises are getting ready to bloom. They always bloom a bit later because they're in the shade. And there's irises and lilies in here. There's a hosta hiding in there. And then weeds and poppies and who else knows what else. Something attacked our cute little bleeding heart down there. There's quite a few flowers on it. Not now. This is the other transplanted from last year lily patch. It's doing quite well. And we have a whole bunch of poppies, but everything's late. Lots of poppies. We like to mix in some weeds with the poppies and whatever else is in there. It's always good to have a nice variety of weeds. Look at something did something to those two lilies. What are you going to do about it? Oh, but these poppies are doing a little better. One of 3 lupins we have blooming. Now just in the ditch, a short distance away from us. Just to the, whatever direction that is. Over there, that direction. It's a whole bunch of lupins in the ditch. It's lupin season out here in the East Coast. The ditches are full of them. It's just extravagant. Kind of pulling towards the end of the season for the forget-me-nots. We've got some pansies and some Johnny jump-ups. And we've got a whole bunch of peonies that are about ready to burst open and bloom. And we have like dozens of irises. They're all that same sort of lemony yellow. It's nice, but they're not like bold, vibrant colors. Of course, we got some sedums, a few here and there, lily of the valleys. The end of the season for a lot of the flowers already. Next up to bat, though, are going to be the brown-eyed Susans, and they have shown up everywhere. Oh, just had a fly in my hand, going to bite me. First blossoms in the hosta here. Here's our big crop of currently blooming irises. So they're nice, right? But they need to be mixed in with some purples and whatever else. Okay, so that's sort of the roadside tour, the front yard side. Let's walk by this great big pile of firewood here. It's cooled off all of a sudden. When I was cutting the lawn, it was pretty darn warm. There's a lot of lawn to cut, so I can get pretty darn warm cutting that. Got some big plans. I don't know what'll be realized this spring or summer. I would like to make a walkway from that garden gate. Coming along here, up that slope. Make some nice steps there. And then tag it on. Boardwalk would be great, huh? Make a boardwalk all the way here to this pitch. Then a boardwalk all the way over to the garden gate. And then that big pie-shaped piece in between, take all the sod out of there. And put a big garden in there and move a bunch of hostas and from the front yard. It's gotten to be too many hostas and peonies and move them into here. And sort of where that patch of lilies is right there, right in front of you. Just pay attention for a second. I wouldn't mind putting an outhouse there. Or maybe just on the other side of it. Just sort of tuck the outhouse into that big old blue spruce. There, it could be right underneath this big old maple tree. That's a very beautiful maple tree in the fall. All right. This is a lily from Lillian from North Battleford. I think it's going to make it. So we got Lillian. We got Fern. Yeah, Fern. I married one of those things. All right. We got a bunch of, we don't know what's going to grow here yet. Maybe it's chickweed. I don't think so. I don't think we planted any chickweed, but you know what happens, huh? There's our other two lupins. And I don't know what these things are called, but you probably do. They're kind of cute. They're just starting to bloom in the odd place. Alright, so this is the refurbished, fixed up garden gate, the one that got smashed up and broken and blown over from the snow and the wind last fall. I had to fix that up. I never really finished it last year, and hence I had my problems, right? There, look at that. There's a lupin in the front and a lupin in the back there. We do have a bunch more lupins growing. There's an example of one right there, but it's like, it's not going to be till next year that, oh, here's one. There we go. It'll be next year when we really get the advantage of them. Alright, what should we do? Now it's garden tour time. We moved our water into the garden this year. This used to be a nice patch last year of cute little squash. But we'll see what we do. Alright, so along this patch here, there are carrots growing. There's a carrot, see? Look at that. So there's a row of carrots growing. Then the beans. So the beans run the whole length of the deer fence. And here we've got tomatoes. Kind of hard to see with all that grass that I blew away, isn't it? The grass is all over, which is good cover. Peppers. I'll build some tomato fencing yet they can climb up. And then some more beans. Beans down to the rhubarb. And then here, a bunch of onions. Whole row of onions. I don't get credit for planting anything except to help plant the potatoes this year. Rhubarb that I didn't harvest this year, we still have quite a bit in the freezer, just going to let it grow up for decor. Yes, you're right. I'm glad you brought that to my attention. That is the new gate. We'll walk through that in a minute. Thanks for bringing that up to me. The teepee. And look at this. We moved to clematis here last year, and it barely survived the move. But I think I see some blossom beginnings there now. Nice to see it anyways. Tons. There's a whole bunch of poppies in there. Everything we have is late, basically. We always seem to have everything. Everywhere we move, everything's later than everywhere else around us. But that means we get to enjoy their stuff and then ours later. So, and this host is coming back, thank goodness. It was sort of the twin to the one on the other side. Oh, there's my wife. Have you met Fern? Yeah, that's Fern right there. Lots of nice brown eyes. So that's going to be really pretty. Come back later and I'll show you a bunch of these in bloom. Here's the grape I got from Jeannie. Of course, I don't think it's going to make it, but if it does, it's not going to do anything up top. It's just going to try to establish a root system. Well, let's do the inside of the garden first, and then we'll go on the outside. These are pumpkins. And in spite of an incredible attack by slugs again, which I come out and I try to get the slugs off the yard every morning, but... And then here, once again, we've got a squash. We have so many volunteer squash from throwing our seeds out. Well, we keep seeds for seed, and then a bunch go into the compost. Little Johnny Jump Up hiding in there. Good for you. couple more hostas. Brown-eyed growing up right there in the middle of those hostas. Yes, that's our potato crop. I think it's just around, just shy of 200 hills this year, which you'd think that'd be enough to feed 2 people, but it isn't if you don't get a crop. And last year, about 25% of the potato plants died off. Starting about now, last year, we literally lost at least a quarter of the plants. Here we have more squash, and many of them have been transplanted from the garden, from the volunteers growing in the garden. I'd show you an example of that if you cared, and if I could find some. Oh, you care. Here we are. Seeing you care. There's one. I'm going to transplant that one. There's another one center screen. There's another one, whole bunch of them. All right, now remember those squash. There's at least 5 plants I showed you. Pay attention and remember, because now, well, not exactly now, but pretty soon now, we're going to take you and show you where they're going to go. Some garlic. A bunch of garlic was given to us. A few more little like gourds. They're not doing so well. Yeah, they might come around. More beans. On the outside, a variety of flowers. But the brown-eyed Susan seem like they just do the best. We got some peas hiding in the grass here that I weed whipped everywhere. And then more beans and more flowers. Probably weeds. I don't know. Whatever. If they look nice, they're flowers. Yeah, baby, yeah. Now the idea with the deer fence, which is just rebar and plastic deer mesh, put it up last year. It took a beating in the winter because it wasn't quite done, and it's still not quite done. But look at this. The idea is down the road to have vines growing up around it. I'd like to get some more grapes, but in the meantime, this creepy creeper is growing here, and that's fine. Virginia creepers. So creeper. Don't be such a creeper. You see the deer fence, it's leaning to the outside, and that's all right. It'll be tied off with cable to the bush to my right, and then where that gazebo is, that tent in the middle of the yard there, middle of the garden, this year I'm hoping to build a real building. That's just temporary so I can be out here without being killed by the bugs. But might even make a 2-story or at least an upper deck. I don't know how big, maybe 10 by 15, something like that. Big enough to have a little party if we had to. There's some volunteer organic potatoes. Actually, Rick, I'll send this to you. Those are the potatoes that you gave me, that bag of potatoes. Yes. I would like to see that grape, a grape, if not the grape there, and the clematis grow up around the teepee here, and then just turn it into a beautiful foliage and flowers. Maybe I'll get some morning glories, transfer them here. Oh, wouldn't that be great, morning glories and clematis blooming on that? Yeah, it would be great. All right, let's go through the gate, but first, let's close it. Oh, darn it. Look at that. See, I'm not done. So I have to, it's because everything moves yet, because of the nature of it. Oh well, we'll get that fixed yet. Okay, this area, there was a whole bunch of choke cherries here, and I cut them down because they got blown over in that big storm, and they actually landed on my fence. Big, tall choke cherries. So I cleaned out all kinds. I left these stumps, but I dug up the stumps and the roots in that brown area there, which is nice because that exposed this maple tree. This was all full of just all kinds of other stuff. And I left these choke cherries. I like choke cherries. I don't like the bush so much, I like the fruit. Okay, so this whole area now I'm going to show you. Last spring, if you follow the leading edge, this is the leading edge here, this whole area was solid shrub, thick. You couldn't even send a chicken through there. It was just solid. And then the back of it was a line of chokecherry trees that I wanted the chokecherries. So I decided I'm going to pull all of those shrubs up, took all the roots out. It was a bloody mess and a lot of work. But in the meantime, I ended up with a flower bed, and I transplanted a whole bunch of lilies, and in the back, they're like a sunflower. The lilies, by the way, were growing out here sort of wild around this area. And these sunflowers, they're not sunflowers, but they grow up tall, like 6-7 feet tall, and they have like a sunflower-like flower. And there was 2 bunches of them at the end of this big mess of bush. So I left the apple tree. I am going to trim it way down and try to manage it and maybe get some apples out of it, tame it. Tame that thing. That's the neighbor's chickens over there. So the golf ball there, huh? And there's that other little bunch of, so there was like dozens and dozens of these tall sunflower-like things growing in here, which got transplanted. Got stupid deer flies coming after my hands. And so we have a maple here too. So this maple now isn't shrouded out. This is a great big pile of like garbagey, I don't know, it was like a big compost pile of waste. And I couldn't mow it, it was too high to mow. So it's like 4 or 6 inches lower than it was. And now it's clean. So this whole area, everything from the left side of this flower bed up to the right side of the screen where the chokecherries are. I left this chokecherry bush too. You can see the little berries growing on it. This whole area got cleaned up, so it's like I gained 15 feet by whatever, 60, 70 feet of yard just by cleaning out this mess. And I put it to grass. Of course, all the grass, we keep all the clippings and put them on the garden. If the chokecherries make it, last year we lost a bunch. Still had plenty. But these ones hang in there. They may not, but they've set. Could have a good chokecherry crop. I've got tons of jelly I haven't eaten yet. That's alright, I'll just have tons more if I make some more. Okay, so what did I do with all the chokecherry trees? I'm getting people ask me that all the time since I started making this video. I've had about 20 people ask, what do you do with the chokecherry trees? The stumps, the big tree stumps, what'd you do with that? Well, am I ever glad you asked, because I'd like to show you. Look at that. That was my wigwam from all the brush, the bush and brush I cut out last year to make this flower bed and open this up. I didn't have anywhere to put it. So I thought instead of making just a big pile, turn it into something, make it a wigwam. So I did. Now the wigwam collapsed a bit, but I think I'll get in here and push it back up and frame it up with some 2x4s so it'll actually hold itself. And then all those chokecherry branches, or trunks, I turned into the front end of the wigwam. And I think instead of calling it a wigwam, I'm going to call it the beaver hut, because it actually looks more like a beaver hut to me than anything. But now all that wet snow collapsed it last year. So now I think I'm just going to buy some really cheap mill grade 2x and frame it out in there so I can keep it. Maybe I'll put a tarp underneath the framing, dark tarp. What do you think of that idea? Oh yes, before we go, because the tour is basically over, this big old interesting arched piece of wood, which obviously the trunk got bent over and then grew up straight again. My goal is to take it and slice it in half if I can. So I'm going to slice that thing in half with a chainsaw, and then I'm going to take the front side and flip it over there. So then this half arch will become a full arch here at the beaver hut. I think that'll be kind of fun. Then if I get some of that cheap wood and actually build the inside up so it doesn't collapse, I can push it back up. That'll be kind of a cool little place. I can keep throwing my brush on the outside to build it up. All right, that is my, oh, that's what happened last year, in that year. That's how the garden was doing last year, tour. So, I think it's been plenty long now. Happy gardening to those of you that like to do that kind of stuff, or those of you that just like to see how other people do it. We're certainly not professionals, probably never will be. Don't really have the energy for that stuff. It's just kind of fun. Bye!